What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation, coming at you from Streetsboro, Ohio. I delivered my load a little bit earlier today. I was planning on delivering it from 6 to 8 a.m. Ended up getting there about 7. I'd already had a pre-plan for another load. One thing I didn't realize was that it was from the same place. You know, the address was the same. I didn't look at it, but the shipper was different. So I assumed I was going to have to leave where I was at, grab a trailer, you know, deal with that if it was dirty. And in reality, I could have just picked it up right there. But the load wasn't ready. Had I known that, I wouldn't have got driving as early. I'd have slept in a little bit longer. They're telling me to check back in at 10 o'clock. So at least I had a chance to make a little bit of a Walmart run, pick up a few items, kind of go from there. This load is going to Carneys Point, New Jersey. So really not Jersey, but still a little bit further northeast than I like to dabble with. So, you know, I made these couple videos talking about Prime. You know, you could go somewhere else and make more money, do whatever. And now I got, you know, you're always going to have haters. You know what? Listen, if you really want to hate me, go hate my barbecue and cooking channel. I definitely got some haters over there. But I kind of let things go a little bit more. Well, I haven't really been messing with that channel all that much lately. I did notice I just went over 50,000 subscribers over there, which is remarkable considering I have neglected that channel as much as I have. But, you know, somebody basically telling me the only reason I'm not going to Landstar or doing whatever is because, you know, there are people that work for people and then there's owners. Listen, I've been a commission salesperson or somebody that hasn't got paid a steady check since 1991. You know what I'm saying? And you know what, rather than get all into this, you know, I could have just been like, you know what, we could both put it on the glass. And I'm not just talking about the glass on, you know, as far as the trucking goes, we could put it all on the glass and put some money on it. But you know what? I'm not fucking with that shit here. I'm just deleting people or blocking people from the channel. I really am not messing around with any of that stuff. So that person's probably not seeing it because I didn't reply to the comment and I just blocked them. That's how I'm doing it. I'm not getting dragged down into that side of, into any of that negativity which can seem to be around this trucking situation in YouTube. So anyway, I spoke about this book that I was gonna kind of talk about. And you know what, if you're looking to get something, if you're looking for an audio book that can like stimulate you mentally, I'll kind of go into a little bit here, but there's an audio book by Malcolm Gladwell on YouTube. It's called Outliers. And I kind of mentioned it in my last video, but some of the things that he talks about in this video is kind of what makes people successful. And a lot of times it's not, you know, a lot of times it's their circumstances more than it is them being just high achievers, things like that. So I'll kind of go into a few instances that I thought was pretty good about this book, but they took bona fide geniuses, all had a IQ, I think, of higher than 160 or something like that plus. And they followed them over years, so over the course of like 40 years. And what everybody was thinking was that all these people were going to be, you know, high achievers. You know, they were going to be what everybody would consider successful. And after following these people, found out that really they didn't overperform or underperform what the average was out there. Maybe slightly higher performed on some ends, but lower performed on other ends. And one of the things that they could look at as a predictor in this after following all these people was that it had less to do with what people's IQ was as much as how much money they were raised with and what their family environment was, more than just their intellect in becoming successful. So that was one thing that they spoke about. They get a little bit deeper in that. Also spoke about Canadian hockey players, why some hockey players do better than others. that are born within certain months of the year, and a lot of it has to do with when they're picking, or when kids kind of become of playing age and they all get kind of picked up by these teams. Well, if you're on the younger end of that spectrum, those people tended to underperform just based on when they were born, because they're playing against all these people that were bigger, more mature, things like that. And it gets deeper than that. So, I'm just kind of laying the groundwork. Another one, same thing with some of you guys might actually understand this. Depending on when you're born and when you get into school, people that were born typically, like, for example, some people when they graduate high school, they're 17. Some people are 18, almost 19. Those people that actually got into school later typically are going to outperform the people that were getting into high school and elementary school later, because they have more maturity just based on that 1 year. But it kind of goes into a number of different things like that. It goes into why Asians are better at mathematics, not because they're smarter, but by how they learn math. Also goes into a town in Pennsylvania where people were living unusually long lives and basically dying of old age instead of any other affliction that comes along, and how that became. But a lot of these people migrated from Italy, and it kind of delves into that. But it got into Korean. I don't know if it was all Asian pilots, but Korean pilots I know was brought up in there, and why they had a higher crash rate and things like that. And a lot of it was based on the hierarchy in how they train their pilots over there. So a pilot in America, there's not that big of there is a difference, but there's not as big of a difference between a pilot and a co-pilot. If a co-pilot senses that there's some issues going on, he's going to bring up those issues with the pilot and not be really worried about it. But because the way the hierarchy is done in Korea, a co-pilot may not tell a pilot certain things because he feels like he's out of line, and he's basically subordinate, like really subordinate to that pilot, almost to the fact that in one of the instances where the co-pilot almost knew that the accident was going to come, but he was afraid, he kind of brought it up sheepishly, like, maybe we should, do this, or boy, we sure do look like we're going low, instead of like really getting into it. But anyway, I think Korean Air or whoever that was went through some retraining and all that kind of stuff. But it like really gets deep into like success, things like that. You know what I'm saying? How people that just are natural, people that come from wealthier families, or children that come from that are automatically going to have a upper hand, whether it just be the culture, people they know, things like that, more so than the drive of whatever that individual is. But it's a deep book. If you're interested in checking out something that's really deep and it'll give you a different view on a lot of different things, check that book out. It's called Outliers, Outliers, by Malcolm Gladwell. Excellent audiobook. Definitely burn some time on a drive. Anyway, they told me to check back in at about 10 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock now. Trying to rack my brain to see if there's anything else I need to get at Walmart before I leave, because I really don't have an opportunity or really the desire to stop at Walmart's while I'm out on the road all that much. So if I'm going to stop, I got to make it worth it. But I am going home at least for a day and a half, 2 days here in a little bit. So no need to go overboard on that. Anyway, I do want to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.